Welcome to Myra Fairy Tales.
Long ago, in a kingdom embraced by silver rivers and emerald mountains, there lived a prince whose heart was gentle and whose spirit longed for something deeper than royal life. Though he grew up surrounded by luxury, music, tutors, and advisors, he carried a quiet longing that no treasure or celebration could satisfy. From his earliest years, he had listened to stories told by villagers, elders, and travelers who passed through the royal gates. Many spoke of true love, love that blossomed not through power or alliances, but through honesty, character, and the purity of the heart. These stories carved a craving within him, a yearning to find someone who was not only noble by birth, but truly noble in soul. When the prince came of age, the king and queen lovingly encouraged him
We
to
have an
search
important
for a
matter to
bride.
discuss regarding the kingdom's
The
future.
world is
Indeed, it's a
large,
decision that will
the
shape our
queen
life.
told him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Somewhere beyond our borders lives the one who will match your heart. The prince agreed, hoping the journey would lead him to the princess he dreamed of. He rode with a small royal entourage from kingdom to kingdom. In every castle he visited, he was greeted with banquets, dances, and grand displays meant to impress him. But though many young women called themselves princesses, something in their demeanor always felt rehearsed. Some cared only about jewels. Others boasted endlessly about their accomplishments. Some were kind, but lacked the gentleness and sincerity he longed for. No matter how beautiful the gowns or how elegant the palace halls, he could not connect with any of them. His heart felt untouched, searching for a presence he couldn't describe but would recognize instantly. Months passed. His royal cloak gathered the dust of distant lands. His eyes carried the exhaustion of disappointment. When he finally returned home, the castle gates opened for him with trumpets and cheers, yet the prince felt emptier than when he had left. The king and queen noticed the heaviness in his step and exchanged troubled glances. They wanted happiness for their son, not simply a royal match. That night, the queen whispered to the king, "Love is not found through searching alone. Sometimes fate delivers it in unexpected ways." Several nights later, a violent storm descended upon the kingdom. Winds clawed at the castle walls, bending trees and scattering leaves like terrified birds. Thunder cracked so fiercely that tapestries trembled, and flashes of lightning lit up the dark sky like torn white silk. The servants scurried through hallways, the guards pushed hard against the gates to keep them shut, and candles flickered in the chilling drafts that swept through the corridors. The royal family gathered near the hearth, watching the flames dance wildly under the storm's pressure. The prince stared into the fire with quiet contemplation, thinking about the many princesses he had met and wondering if destiny had forgotten him. The queen, seated beside him, gently touched his hand and whispered, "Sometimes the truest hearts appear when the world is darkest." As if summoned by her words, a sudden, urgent knocking echoed through the thunder. The guards rushed to the heavy doors and struggled to pull them open against the howling wind. When they finally succeeded, a gust of icy rain swept inside, followed by the fragile figure of a young woman. She stood trembling, soaked from head to toe. Her hair clung to her face in wet strands, water dripping from her lashes. Her dress, though worn from the storm, was sewn with delicate embroidery, now smeared by mud and rain. her shoes squished with every tiny step she took across the marble floor. Yet even in this drenched, shivering state, her presence held an unmistakable grace. Her voice was soft but steady as she curtsied and said, "Forgive my appearance, your majesties. I was traveling alone when the storm overturned my carriage. I walked for hours in the rain before finding your castle. Please, I ask only for shelter tonight. I am a princess." The guards exchanged puzzled looks. The servants raised their eyebrows. A princess? Arriving alone? Without guards, attendants, or a carriage? It seemed almost impossible. But while others doubted her claim, the queen's gaze lingered thoughtfully on the young woman's face. There was something delicate about her, something honest that could not be disguised even by mud and rain. She smiled warmly and said, "You are welcome here, my dear. Come, you must be freezing." She ordered warm towels and a fire to be prepared for the guest. But deep inside, the queen knew she must be certain. Princesses were raised with a delicacy that made them sensitive to the tiniest discomfort. Only a true princess could sense something others could not. The queen decided she would test the girl's claim in a way no impostor could pass. While the visitor warmed herself, the queen led her maids to a chamber high in the castle. She placed a single green pea, small, round, ordinary, on the wooden bed frame. Then she instructed the maids to stack 20 thick mattresses and 20 downy feather beds on top of it. It became a bed so tall that it nearly brushed the canopy frame. The queen knew that such a tiny pea buried underneath so many layers would be undetectable to anyone except a real princess. When the room was prepared, the queen welcomed the girl inside. The princess looked up at the towering bed in surprise, but she smiled gratefully too, polite to question the unusual arrangement. She climbed up with the help of several steps and sank into the mountain of soft bedding. Her eyes were heavy with exhaustion, and she hoped for the rest she desperately needed. The storm calmed through the night, but inside the tall bed, the princess could not sleep. No matter how she lay, she felt something hard and uncomfortable pressing into her back. She turned to one side, then the other. She curled beneath the covers, pushing the blankets away, adjusting her pillow. Nothing helped. The irritation beneath her body felt like a sharp pebble, faint yet persistent. Her delicate skin bruised easily, and as the hours crawled by, she felt the soreness spreading along her arms and legs. She winced softly, trying not to disturb anyone, but sleep remained impossible. The night dragged on endlessly, filled not with rest, but discomfort. When dawn arrived, she descended the ladder with tired steps. The prince noticed the dark circles beneath her gentle eyes and asked softly, "Did you sleep well?" She hesitated, unsure if she should complain, but her honesty prevailed. "Your Highness," she said with an apologetic smile, "I'm grateful for the shelter, but I hardly slept a moment. There was something hard in the bed, something small but unbearable. My whole body aches from it." The queen's heart beat faster with recognition. The prince stared at her with curiosity. "Something hard?" he repeated, astonished. The queen clasped her hands and said quietly, "Only a true princess could have felt the pea beneath 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds." She turned to the girl, her voice warm and certain. "You truly are what you claim to be." The prince studied the young woman's face, kind, sincere, humble even in her exhaustion, and something in his heart stirred. This was the feeling he had searched for. Not grand gestures or polished words, but a soft sincerity, a gentleness that shone through in her honesty and vulnerability. As the princess rested over the next few days, the prince spent time with her, learning about her life. He discovered that she lived in a distant kingdom, raised with kindness rather than strictness, compassion rather than pride. She left home not in search of power, but to understand the world and its people. She helped the villagers in her homeland, visited gardens instead of ballrooms, and often escaped the palace just to watch rivers flow and children play. Despite her noble birth, she was simple in her joys and genuine in her heart. The prince found her presence soothing, her laughter warm and light, her words thoughtful and sincere. Their conversations lasted for hours, sometimes deep, sometimes playful, sometimes quiet and comfortable. Each day they spent together awakened something the prince had never felt before, a sense of being understood, cherished, and truly seen. As the days passed, the entire castle noticed the change. The prince smiled more, walked lighter, and seemed to glow with newfound hope. The king and queen exchanged glances of relief and joy. They had long wished for their son to find someone worthy of his heart. After several days of companionship, the prince gathered his courage and gently asked the princess if she might consider remaining in the kingdom a little longer. Her cheeks flushed softly, and she admitted that she, too, felt a growing bond, something rare and precious. What began as comfort soon blossomed into affection, and affection into love. Soon the castle buzzed with excitement as preparations for a magnificent royal wedding began. Craftsmen carved delicate patterns into golden arches, seamstresses wove gowns from shimmering silk, and villagers prepared songs and dances for the celebration. On the wedding day, the palace filled with music, flowers, and joyous laughter. The princess arrived in a gown that floated like moonlight, her smile warm enough to brighten every face around her. The prince took her hands gently as they exchanged heartfelt vows, vows not just of love, but of truth, respect, and shared dreams. The kingdom rejoiced for days. Lanterns lit the night sky, bells rang from every tower, and the people spoke of the union as a blessing to all. As for the pea, it was carefully preserved in a glass case, displayed as a symbol of the princess's delicate sensitivity and genuine nobility. It became a reminder that true royalty is revealed not through crowns or riches, but through gentleness, honesty, and the quiet strength of the heart.